Hi everyone, in this episode, in this video, I'm going to read out one of my most viewed articles on medium.com. The title is Words of Encouragement for Non-Native English Writers Like Me. And the subheading is On Doubting Your Writing, Imitating Writers, English Grammar, and Publishing with Mistakes. Okay, I'm going to read it out and I'm going to make comments as I go, okay? So, let's go. I've recently interviewed a few English as a second language writers as part of my MA in language education. They said they aren't fully confident about their English writing skills. Why? I asked them. They replied, I have trouble with English grammar. I can't understand the logic behind the use of punctuation. I struggle with register, formal, informal, neutral. I don't know if what I write sounds natural or not. I'm unsure about the words I use. I'm a non-native English speaker myself, and not long ago those problems used to be mine. But today I teach English for a living and get paid to write in English for language learning websites and magazines. If you feel like those writers I've interviewed, I've got something to tell you that might be helpful. Okay, so this is the introduction. Many non-native English writers might feel unconfident, so they don't feel confident enough when they write in English. And the problems are grammar, register, vocabulary. So maybe you are one of those writers, and this is what I've got to tell you. Doubting your writing. Being unsure about how you express your ideas on paper helps improve your writing. I'll prove it to you. Look at this photo. Those are complaint letters to hotel managers that didn't exist, emails to friends I didn't have, and essays about topics I wasn't interested in. It's meaningless, grammatically incorrect writing that I did in preparation for English language exams over 10 years ago. I wanted to get certificates to prove to myself and the world that my English was good. So I had to display my writing abilities by producing the most uninteresting text you could ever imagine. It was boring, but it was worth it. While completing those assignments, many language questions would often pop into my mind. For example, how can I express this concept in English? Is this word spelled with an S or a C? Do I need this or that structure? I use this term 5 times already. What synonyms could I use? This is the most terrible sentence I've ever seen in my life. So these are the things that would often come to my mind while writing. I would often try to solve those language mysteries using translators, dictionaries, and grammar books. I'm glad I did that. The process of investigating and clearing up my doubts helped me discover new things about the English language and made me a better writer by a tiny fraction. Writing generates doubts. Doubts generate curiosity. Curiosity generates learning. Today, I still find myself scratching my head while writing. I'm sure native English writers get stuck on linguistic problems too. So, relax. I promise you'll never get to a point when you're like, finally I know everything about how English works. It doesn't work like that. Take Ryan Holiday as an example. He's an American best-selling author who's written a dozen books on Stoicism. And actually, these are his books. I've got them here. Ego is the enemy. Stillness is the key. The obstacle is the way. If you want to read his books, I highly recommend Ego is the Enemy. Anyway, so Ryan Holiday. Okay, you would think he's done with learning English. He's not. In an article, he says that when he comes across a new word, he records it on a note card to remember it. This should tell you that improving your English is an endless process. I'm sure you know that. And so is improving your writing. So, want to improve? Then write. If you're not doing it, you're not allowing doubts to arise. You won't learn if you don't have doubts. Okay, so this is the first section, okay, the first section of the article, where I say basically that it's okay to have doubts when you write. It's totally okay. It's okay to think that, that word is not the correct word, that this maybe is not the best way to express this idea. It's okay to think that your grammar is terrible in this sentence. How can you improve it? All these things. And this is a good thing, because if you don't have these doubts, then how can you go and learn? How can you find if this is the best way to express this idea, or how you can express this idea better if you don't have that initial doubt? But of course, you want to also enjoy writing. So my suggestion is to focus on content first. Don't worry about all those technicalities like the grammar, the vocabulary, the punctuation. When you're writing, just write. Just express your ideas as they come, with the best words, with the best grammar that you have in that moment. Because you're writing a first draft, and you're not going to publish that first draft. So it's okay for that draft to be shit. It's okay. Then, once you've got all your ideas on paper, all right, then you start editing, questioning, improving, cutting, removing. So that, in the process, that could come later. That editing phase could come later, because it's hard to think about content and language at the same time, especially if your English is not as proficient as your first language. Okay. All right, so this is the first section. Then we've got the second one, imitating. And I start this section with a quote. A quote by William Zinsser. I'm not sure this is the right pronunciation, but it comes from a book called On Writing Well. I highly recommend reading this book. It's a book about how to write nonfiction. So the quote is this: "Never hesitate to imitate another writer. Imitation is part of the creative process. Imitation is part of the creative process for anyone learning an art or a craft. Bach and Picasso didn't spring full-blown as Bach and Picasso. They needed models. This is especially true of writing. Don't worry that by imitating them you lose your own voice and your own identity. Soon enough you will shed those skins and become who you are supposed to become." I agree. Proficient writers give you a model, an example, a pattern to follow. You need those, especially if you're writing in a foreign language. Once you find a writer whose style intrigues you, you've found your best writing teacher. Study his or her style, then reproduce it in your own way. My favorite writers are my favorite writers for a reason. I love how their writing makes me think. Derek Sivers is one of those writers. I've read all his books and then wrote one myself imitating his style. It made everything so much easier. No, the aim is not to become them. It's too late to be them. The aim, as Zinsser says, is to become who you are supposed to become. By the way, imitating English speakers is also how I learned to speak English. Shamelessly and purposely do that too. So, I love Derek Sivers. I can show you some books by Derek. These ones. Your Music and People, How to Live, Hell Yeah or No, and this one, Anything You Want. And I love these books. I love his style. I love his the way he writes blogs. I really love Derek Sivers as a writer. And then I wrote my book, Any Language You Want, which anything you want, any language you want. So I imitated his style while writing my book. But I'm not Derek Sivers. I'm not him. I cannot write like him. I can only imitate him, and then by imitating his style, well, I can find my own voice. I will find my own voice. Actually, I have found my own voice. So if you have a writer that inspires you, if you like his style, or her style, if you feel that the way they combine words to express meaning and to send out a message, if you really like that, well, imitate that style. There's nothing wrong with that. For the reasons that Zinzers mentioned. So you need a model. You need a model, especially if you're if English is not your first language and you're writing in English. You need that model. It's fine to have one. You're not copying everything word by word. You're not. You cannot be them in any way whatsoever. But you can. Okay, you understand what I mean. Beyond grammar. This is the third section. There's more to writing than correct grammar. I've said this many times. As an English teacher, I find that many non-native English writers are too obsessed with grammar and other technical aspects of the language, such as spelling and punctuation. This often happens at the expense of other important aspects of writing, like, for example, guiding the reader through the text, including only relevant information, coming up with good qualities ideas, organizing ideas coherently, being aware of the audience, removing redundant words, varying sentence length, planning what to write, using paragraphs, researching, layout. As a teacher and former student of English, I know why this might happen. And there is a quote here by I.C. Lee, who is a researcher and teacher, and it says this: conventional feedback approaches in context of English as a foreign language see teachers play a dominant role in the entire process, responding almost exclusively to written errors and filling student papers with red ink. Worse, this is, okay, end of the quote. Worse, many teachers, these are my words, many teachers aren't writers themselves or haven't been trained on how to teach writing. I know many. So for some, it's easier to point out mistakes than teach how to tell a story that people want to read. Am I giving you an excuse not to study grammar? I am not. To write well, you must have good grammar and a reasonably large vocabulary. Work on these, but not exclusively on these. As a learner, I too believed that writing well in English involved the mere production of grammatically correct sentences. But years of reading, writing, and teaching showed me that grammar is only one of the things that can make or break your message. Quick example. Listen to this. Yesterday, I loved my friends and their cats. One day One day she saw me. Okay, now let's do it again. Yesterday I loved my friends and their cats. One day she saw me, but I wasn't under the weather. They were just beautiful. Sammy's eyes are brown. You hated it, didn't you? Okay, what did you understand here? Perfect grammar, but did you understand me? If you did, Italian cappuccino is on me. Italian cappuccino only before midday. Publish imperfect article. And curiously here, the title, I made a mistake. There's a typo in this title. Publish imperfect article. It should be articles. But, okay, no, sorry, let's go back. So, beyond grammar. So there is more to writing than correct grammar. And as I said, there are many other aspects. But for some reason, English speakers, non-native English writers, English as a second language writers, they are obsessed with mistakes and getting the grammar right. This is okay. I mean, yes, it's okay because you must have good grammar when you're writing. When you're publishing something, well, the grammar needs to be there, especially if you're writing professionally. You know, if you're a content writer, I mean, you need good grammar. Otherwise, because writing is permanent, is there in front of everyone forever, so the grammar must be good. But this is not the only aspect that we've got. There are many other aspects, which, you know, removing redundant words, for example, or including only relevant information. So it's not just about grammar, it's also about what you say. If you're telling me a story about a time when you felt sick, and you're including information that doesn't have anything to do with that story, well, you're wasting my time. Okay? This is just a stupid example. But it's just to say that, yes, grammar, yes, please, work on grammar, but that's not the only thing. Writing well is hard. Okay, writing well is hard. It takes time. But the secret is to enjoy the process of learning. This is the secret. Enjoy the process. Because anyway, you will never get to a point when you're like, oh, okay, done. I'm a perfect writer now. I can just relax. Of course not. It's an endless process. So you'd better enjoy that process. Otherwise, all you get is frustration. All right, third section, publish imperfect article. There's a typo here. It should be publish imperfect articles. But when I saw that, I thought, okay, I'm going to leave this. I'm going to leave it like that because this already shows that I'm publishing an imperfect article. So it starts like this. Harsh truth. Removing mistakes from your writing takes time. This is what I was talking about before. No one in the history of the world has ever gone from crap English to excellent English in a couple of days. Not even a couple of years. It personally took me over a decade, so be patient. But write and publish. Post your imperfect articles online. At the beginning or end of an article, you could say something like this. English isn't my first language, but I'm trying to improve it. If you spot any mistakes or have any other suggestions on how to improve my stories, please let me know in the comments. Then I give an example of two writers who did this, who are doing this. So use writing platforms to your advantage. Use them to practice in front of an audience and get useful feedback from other writers. But never apologize for your bad English. You've got nothing to be sorry about. So, there are many ways where you can publish your writing. Medium.com is, in my opinion, the best, okay? Because it's a big community of writers. There are English as a second language writers. There are English native speakers there. I'm there too. This article that I'm reading is on Medium, so I think it's the best place to publish your writing. But you can also write on social media platforms like LinkedIn, like Facebook, Instagram. It doesn't matter. But I think you should publish, even though your article presents mistakes, because it's the practice, continuous practice of writing, improving, publishing, writing, questioning, learning, publishing. This is how you will improve. And as I said, you can just say, this article was written by a non-native English speaker, or I'm a non-native English writer. So if you find any ways, if you have any suggestions on how I can improve this article, if you found a mistake, please let me know. I want your feedback. I want to know how I can improve. You don't need to go to school to do this. You don't need to do an exam to improve your writing. You can do it in your room for free and connect with the world. Connect with the world through your writing and improve it as a result. I think it's amazing. We don't live in 1955 anymore. We've got internet now. So I think we've got ChatGPT. Okay, this is another story. But I think ChatGPT, you can use dictionaries to improve your writing. You can use translators. You can also use ChatGPT. It's there for us to be used. It's a learning tool. I wrote a full article on this. I'll put it in the comments. Okay, ChatGPT is another story, but let's move on. Let's rock. This is the last section. Sad. I actually need a glass of water that I don't have here. Okay, say you have intermediate guitar skills and you want to improve them. What would you do? Spend a couple of minutes thinking about it, then read on. So let's say you want to improve your guitar skills or your drumming skills. Okay, let's stick with guitars. What would you do? I want to improve my guitar skills. All right, this is what I would do. I would spend time playing the guitar. I would listen to the music I wish to play. I would practice, try out new things, and get feedback from a teacher or other guitarists, or both. I would also read books on how to improve my guitar skills, take guitar classes, study and imitate my favorite guitarists to improve my sounds and technique, and play alone in my room as well as on stage. Most of all, I would try to have as much fun as I can. Learning to write well in a second language and learning the guitar work in the same way. I hope you'll keep on rocking. I use the guitar as an analogy, metaphor, because actually I wanted to use the drums because I used to play the drums, and I always find similarities, parallels, I think this is the right word, between learning a language, learning a skill, and playing music, learning how to play music. And this is true also for writing. So I'd spend time playing the guitar, so I would spend time writing. I would listen to the music I wish to play. So I would read the things that I would like to write. I would practice, of course. Try out new things, of course. And get feedback from a teacher or other guitarists, or both. So get feedback from a teacher or other writers. I would also read books on how to improve my guitar skills. I would read books on how to improve my writing. Take guitar classes. Take writing classes. Study and imitate my favorite guitarists. Imitate my favorite writers. And to improve my sounds and technique. So to improve my my grammar, my vocabulary, my style, and play alone in my room as well as on stage. So write alone in my room, journaling, for example, as well as on stage, so in front of an audience, on Medium, publishing. Most of all, I would try to have as much fun as I can. So, as I said before, enjoy the process and have fun, because this is not a matter of death or of life or death. This is a matter of learning how to write. It's not that you need to learn how to perform heart surgery tomorrow, otherwise one of your relatives, one of your family members will die. This is not the situation you're in. You're in a situation when you're trying to learn a skill. So let's put things into perspective here. Relax, enjoy, and keep writing. What do you think? Do you think this is helpful? If it is, please let me know. If you have any questions, please feel free to let me know. Write to me in the comments, send me an email. There are so many ways, not so many, but there are a couple of ways to get in touch with me, in the comments or by sending me an email. I reply to everyone. All the links are in the description. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope it wasn't too long. The link to the article is in the there. It's in the description of this video or in the comment in the show notes. So I'm looking forward to hearing from you what you think, what your problems are. If you have any questions, if you have any comments you want to share with me, if you disagree with me, I would love to hear from you. Thank you. I'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye.